Welcome, beautiful Wisdom of Womanhood community. We are back with part 3 of such an incredible journey into rites of passage. So yeah, we're really excited to complete this part of this journey with you guys today. I am Miss Showy Moon, and as always, it is an honor to be in this space and to be joined by my beautiful friend Pippa.
Hey guys.
You know what I love about doing this podcast with you is that we get to have these catch ups. We've
Before
just
we press
been catching
record,
up
we
about
should just
life, and
record them.
I know yeah, so much happens in the space of a week.
I know.
And it's so beautiful to have this person in your life that you have this scheduled time, where you're obviously on a video call and you can check in and what's happening, and what's at the forefront of your heart right now, and the challenges and the celebrations. And it's just such a beautiful thing, the byproduct of saying yes to the podcast calling us
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, I think what I love as well is when we choose the topics, they're always really relevant to our life.
Yeah.
And I think part 3 we're wrapping up rites of passage today, and I think it's just beautiful how it all just mingles into life. Like we talk, like we literally just trust in the topics, because when we choose the topics, life just kind of happens, and then we get to like we choose a topic and we think, okay, what can I talk about that topic? Like, what's my wisdom around the topic and the knowledge? I already have some knowledge and wisdom. And then within that week, so much shit happens where we're like, okay, great, I've got so much more to talk about now.
Yep, we are initiating ourselves along the way. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's what happens, right? As soon as you set an intention for whether it be a conversation, an integration, initiation, some kind of growth, as soon as you've set the intention and created the energetic entity that is that space,
Mm.
all of the things start flowing,
Yeah.
and all of the initiations happen. And of course, and so every week we're creating these containers for ourselves and for everyone to journey with of, can you allow our conversations to activate you?
Yeah.
Because if you say yes to that, this journey is going to be even more profound and deep than the cognitive. It will
Yeah.
be a very somatic and spiritual experience. And, that's always the opportunity and the invitation when you
Yeah.
come into space with the
I
podcast.
actually want to read a review that I got last week from my cleaner. She comes every 2 weeks, and I didn't even realize she was listening to the podcast. She must have just found it through my website or my
Mhm.
my Facebook. And this is what she said. I love everything about this. I feel like I finally found my people. I've always felt very strong connections to my spiritual side, but only ever had one other friend who expressed the same interests. Meeting Pippa and discovering this podcast with Shawi has been an absolute blessing. Every day I am starting to feel more like I can be myself and speak my truth without an overwhelming fear of being seen as different, and feeling like I want to shove my true self deep down somewhere she would never be seen. Thank you for being you, ladies. I'm ready for more to come.
Oh
And
my
when
gosh,
you've
no.
just said it, like, if you and I every week can just sit here and talk about our life and topics that have
Mm-hmm.
changed our lives,
Mm-hmm.
consciousness and spirituality and rites of passage, like all these, like we've literally got so many topics to cover, like, and each one of them is activating, like you said, healing, helping people to realize, like, these two women are on this journey. They've both had different backgrounds. They've both got different, difference about them, and they both come together in unity and talk about beautiful
Everything.
things. And that's like, that's the best feeling, is like, hey, like we have differences and sometimes we don't agree on stuff and we have different opinions about things, but isn't that the beauty of life? Like, it doesn't matter. We're still loving on each other, and we're still bringing our beautiful energy and our own wisdom to each episode. And I think that's beautiful. So I wanted to read it because it's like when you get those reviews, I'm just like, my heart's always like, oh, and I'm pregnant, so I'm extra like emotional. So I'm always like, oh.
uh, can I read a message too? Because you just
Yes.
inspired that. Gosh, I was in tears reading this. So this is a beautiful woman that I've known for a while, and initially as a client in retreat spaces and one-on-one spaces. And this came from a conversation around the podcast. And she said, and this is, I want it to be about obviously a reflection of the podcast in this space, but also I really want you guys to feel into how far the ripples can go into people's lives when you show up, and doing the work with yourself and in your fullness and your authenticity. So this is what she said. I really value the things that you share deeply about. She said, I can't, this is fucking hilarious though. I can't remember the episode, but you were talking about a man being out there manifesting you, which he has just done in the last week, by the way. And that feels so good to know. That made me think back to when I was lost and trying to find something, trying to find my happy. I would imagine what the feeling was that I needed. I manifested you into my life. The feeling that I get when I'm in your presence is just that yummy, scrummy feeling of being seen, supported, and loved with you. And shout out to Imka and Chanel, who have been a beautiful blessing in this person's life as well. For me, that was my beginning. From there, I've been able to see the feeling of what I wanted more of, a tribe, a community, and my soul people. And I notice now that I'm in that now. I have my friends now that I love and they love me. We are real and raw and give so much of ourselves to, and we receive as well. Like real happiness. It's a real thing. And I never thought it would have been. Thank you so much for being you, sending you so much love. You're pure magic to me. And I just have like full body shivers of we don't know and we don't need to know how deep and far the ripples of love can go.
Yeah.
And then when you have these moments and people come back to you and you just think, oh my gosh, the natural byproduct of me showing up for myself and my truth is that love is spread, connection is spread, the communities and other places end up coming, and it should just fucking lights me up.
It's
Yeah.
you know what's quite funny is I'm having a social media break, and just a quick recap. Last week has been quite tough for me because I've had hormones everywhere. Any pregnant listeners or anyone who's had babies, I know you had three, Showy, like obviously like my hormones have just been everywhere. I'm just feel like I'm crazy one minute and then I'm like on a high the next. And last week was quite tough because it was the in between 8 and 9 week when I lost the baby last year. So it was just, the trauma was there, and it was, I had to honor myself and be like, hey, I'm in this space right now. And I was taking a social media break, and I think I've checked Instagram once just in case like anyone needed me, like, because obviously like I've talked to clients on there and stuff. And I think I had like 10 messages on that I hadn't read. And I could just see some of them and they were all like, please don't go. We need you on socials. You don't realize how much like your posts, because like I mentioned about coming off socials because I had that people who set up those fake profiles and stuff, and it's so aggravating. And so many people just say no, Pip, like, and people who I didn't realize I'm actually like
Yeah.
like I said, I don't realize, and we don't realize who we're actually reaching right now. And I love that, and that lights me up to fuck, because I'm like, I don't like say think of like Sharon, that's a random name. I don't know who she is, but she follows me in the background. And then one time she reaches out and says, please don't leave social media, Pip. Like your posts, I need, like I need them every day, and you light me up and you give me inspiration. And I realize, yeah, fucking right, yeah, like I need to be on there because I want to be on there. But I'm taking a break just for a little bit because my mental health just needed that little bit of a, which is an honoring myself and honoring what I need. And that's what I want to teach my clients and people who follow me, is that hey, it's okay to take breaks for yourself, because
Yeah.
it can be challenging. Social media can be really challenging. So that's where I was at. And what you've just said is like, even with the podcast, there's probably people listening right now that we don't even know who they are. We've
I
not connected with them. And I'm like,
know.
hey, you guys. I'm like, hi. So it's like, if you want to reach out,
We feel
please do.
you.
But
Even if
honestly,
we don't
like,
know you, we feel you.
yeah, that's what I love about it, is you don't realize. And if you did, if you had like a little flash of who you're reaching, oh my God, you'd just be like, it just give you like that sense of just, oh, like that service to others. I'm going back to the Tao at the moment. Like the Tao's coming up for me a lot with like Wayne, because I'm seeing all those signs and stuff, and I'm like, that was a big value of mine, is service to others. Like, how can I serve? But to serve, you've got to keep filling your cup, haven't you? So that's why I
And
just,
also be unattached to the service. Can I invite, how I love language. Can I invite something into this conversation? Is when you choose to go back into the social media space, can we dilute the word need and be choose?
Yes.
because need is coming from a lack place, and it's coming from like, I have to, as
Yes.
opposed to, let's not say that you're needed on social media. Let's say that you choose to go into
Yeah.
those spaces and share in a way that is aligned with you. And then you might
Yes.
choose not to, but it's not a need, because you don't actually need to be on social media.
I want to be.
That's
I
not,
want to be.
you,
It's
you
yeah.
choose to be, yep, but it's not coming from a place that is like, need has a very
Yes.
interesting connotation and frequency with it, right? It's, again, it comes into the relationship. It's so much more beautiful to choose our
Yes.
friends and choose our lovers and choose our beloveds, as opposed to this like, I need it. So I'm just gonna like pop that in there.
I love how you pick the language. So it's like I chose to come off social media for my mental health.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And then you're going to choose to go back because it's going to feel aligned to you and the
Yeah.
place, but not because my worth is in my service, or not
Yes.
because my identity is in my service or whatever it
Mm,
is. It's
mm.
about the choosing because it feels like the thing that lights me up right now. And I do it out of this abundance place, as opposed to now I have to go in and fill up everyone's lack cups. That's not your
Yes.
responsibility.
Mm-hmm. That's why I
Yeah.
love you.
Yeah. Okay, that felt good.
So
Okay.
part three, I think it's come at a perfect time because I mentioned to you before we press record that I've seen three friends in the last 4 days, and all
Mhm.
three of them I've spoke to. I won't name them for obviously confidentiality reasons, but they've all spoke about menopause, premenopausal. Now we haven't been through that in this
No.
life yet. I have my own obviously opinions around it and knowledge around it, but we've never been through it ourselves, so we can only speak from that perspective. But it is, I was just saying like how much of a transformation I'm going through right now, becoming a mother, and that whole rites of passage of motherhood, and how much of a transformation it is for a woman to go through. And then you get to like later in life and then you go through the whole reversal of that. I'm like,
Yeah.
holy shit, like I'm actually realizing how much of a just 180 it is, and how much of a beautiful transformation it is to move in. It's like you're moving into that elder. It's like an elder, like a even
A wise
wiser
woman.
woman,
Mm.
like that's how I see it. If I look to like our ancestors, is that, that when you see the elders with the grey hair and they've got long grey hair and they're like, they plait the hair and they're just these elder wise women. And I think, can we see like menopause is like going into, we've been this beautiful, we're still mothers. We still have children at that stage. They might be
Well,
older, they
some
might,
don't,
but we're still a mother. It's just our
but
body's
some don't as well. I
transforming.
think it's important to remember that in this conversation is that
Yeah.
some women never will birth, and that's
Yeah.
beautiful. And you're
Exactly.
still wise even
Yes.
if you have not birthed.
Yes. And that's why one of my good friends in the UK, she didn't want to have children, and she sat with it and said, I don't want children. But what I find beautiful is she said, I'm still a mother though. She has
Mm.
like nieces and nephews, she has,
Mm.
animals. And she said, even though I'm not birthing
I'm still nurturing.
children, and we sat with it, and she's like, I'm birthing ideas, I'm birthing creativity,
Mm.
I'm birthing
Mm.
friends, like, and I'm like, it's
Mm.
beautiful when you see it that way, because
Mm.
every woman gets to choose the
Mhm.
choosing of it. And I think what a beautiful transformation, but also what a just something that needs to be spoken about, because I feel like
Yeah.
this, like how my friends who I spoke to at the weekend going through menopause again, they feel alone. They
Yeah.
feel alone. They don't have support. They don't have like, they should, oh, like one doctor said, it's just something you go through. You have to just get on with
Mm.
it. It's like, oh, that just grates on me. Like, hang on, like what about support? Like, hey, what do you need right now? Like, one of my friends wanted children, and she
Mm.
she she didn't meet the right guy, and it just didn't happen for her. So going through menopause is
Mm.
fucking brutal for her, because she's like, now it's tough for her, because she's like, my chances of having,
Great.
but she's talked about adoption and she talked about things like that, but
Yeah.
just honoring all those, and the ones before us that went through this as well.
Mm.
Mm,
And I think, the really important pieces to bring into this, obviously not from our personal experience, but from what is very clear within our society, is that so much worth and attention is put on the younger woman. Like, in terms of beauty, your beauty is your youth, and let's do everything to stay young and beautiful. Here's all of the products to stay young and
yeah.
beautiful. Here's all the things you need to do to avoid aging. And aging has become this fucking thing that apparently we're trying to avoid. Like, what kind of delusion is it that aging is not occurring? And how much does it go against the natural essence of who we are as humans to try and stop a part of us that is occurring, right? And it's definitely, you know, something that is so prevalent. And you see that the worth is taken away from the woman as she gets older, and the life experience, you know, like we were saying, I was actually thinking of my stepmother when you were talking, and it was just so beautiful because she is 100% the wise woman, you know. And you know, again, life took her down lots of different paths. She never birthed herself. She had ovarian cancer when she was in her early 20s, and so you had to grieve, you know, for never being able to have children. And then met me, and that turned a whole world upside down when I was 2 years old. And we've had to journey through a lot of things, the initiation into becoming a grandmother, you
Yeah.
know. And I know she won't mind me saying this, but becoming a grandmother for her was the softening into closeness and affection and care that she'd never initiated herself into before. We had a very different relationship when I was younger, and now, like, I go to her, like I ring her, I'm like, hey, I have a client with this. What herb should I recommend? Do you know the
Oh,
aromatherapy
yeah.
oils and this and advice? You know, she has really become, and my father. But she's the one I go to, you know, and I ask her about, you know, some co-parenting things and my relationship life, and you know, because it's that respectful life experience, right? And that part of us that we really need to do as people that are in a different life stage, to go, hey, I just fucking honor you and the experiences. What can we learn? Like, what can we learn from your wisdom in your life? And that's then when that transition comes through, right? And I think it's something that I wish we would just celebrate more,
Yeah.
you know, celebrate the wisdom that is held and people that are of a different age.
Mm.
And it's definitely vilified in society. You know, we've lost that honoring in such a brutal way, you know. And it's really interesting when you look at it, like, why are we taking away this opportunity for wisdom and for connection? You know, it leads into all of these conversations around just loss of opportunities for us to grow as humanity and as society. They've lived through things that we haven't. And yeah, we can't fucking sit here and pretend that we know. So why don't we create the spaces so that we can ask?
Mm.
Mm.
I love that, especially when you mentioned about aging and things like that. Like, I'm a big advocate of aging gracefully and honoring every stage you are on your journey. And I think it's just, we're just in a different, like, we're just in a different era right now, aren't we? Like, there's so much we could talk about. And I think I love when you mention the word honor. Like, that's a huge word for me. And like I said, language is a big thing, isn't it? Like, honoring. It has, like, honoring has a softness to it, but it also has a power to it. Like, it's this honoring of women before us and honoring the processes our bodies go through, honoring how
Mm.
miraculous our bodies are. Like, I'm growing a fucking
Mm.
human right now. Like,
Yeah,
Chris
you
said
are.
to me yesterday, you're growing a human, like a little human. And I was like, it's incredible. And I was reading my app last night about your blood flow and what your body's doing right now. And I was just like, I just sat in bed last night going, I absolutely adore everything you're doing for me right now. Like, it's just,
Mm.
so when Shao and I have not been through menopause, we will yet to go through it. And I love hearing from other people who are going through it, like their advice and what they're doing to, cope, and what they're doing, to help them through it. And I think it's just that honoring of, like, the process of being a woman, like our
Mm.
bodies, and even I'm a big advocate for going to nature, like what nature goes through, and like how we're so we're so connected to nature. Like, we're so connected to the moon, the cycles of the moon,
Our
our
nature.
periods, the cycle of them. It's just incredible. Like, and the women before us who, like, it's just like I said, that word honoring is coming up for me so much. Like I loved when you said to take away the word need, because it's that, what can I do to honor myself right now? What can I do to honor where I've been? What can I do to honor where I'm going? You know, it's that, it's a natural process to, I know there can be a lot hormonally going on when you're going through menopause and things like that. But then if you move from menopause to like, okay, these stages in life that we go through, you know, you say that archetypes, like people talk about archetypes as you go through life. Think about when it gets to the end, like we want to talk briefly about death, like that transition, because it's probably one of the
Yeah,
biggest fears on this planet is death. It's
absolutely.
something that
Fear of mortality.
Chris, my husband, is going to be writing a book around that concept. I won't go into too much detail to give it away, but he's a big, because he's half scientist, half spiritual, so we can bring the two together.
Mm,
One of the biggest fears on the planet is death,
yeah.
which is understandable because we
Mhm.
love life and we want to be here and we love our family and we love connection and we love the food and we love nature and we want to be here and we want to relish in it for as long as possible. But death is something that is, it's just going to happen to all of us. And I feel like even the word death, like the language around the word death, I don't like the word death. Like when the spiritual teachers I listen to, they call it a transition. It's a transition, like you said, motherhood's a transition. Your first sexual experience is a transition. Your first bleed is a transition. Menopause is a transition. You are going through so many transitions in your life. When it comes to death, like that for me is like the final transition. And if
Yes.
we can honor it in a sense of, hey, look at all the ones before us and how they, because like I said, that's what I'm really sad about. Like we don't honor life as we used to. We don't take time to be like, hey, like this piece of meat on my plate, or you know, or vegetables if you're a vegetarian or whatever. We don't take just 30 seconds to go, thank you so much for growing for me. Thank you so much for being alive so I can eat you and survive. Like we just, it makes me emotional so thinking of it because we just don't. And it like,
Can we change that language again and
yes,
away from we don't, as like we are remembering
yeah.
to honor the
Mm.
processes of life and death and rebirth more?
Yeah, I had a
You
massage
know?
yesterday, and halfway through the massage, there was a farmer behind where she lives, and a cow was shot. It got stuck down a hill, and then for the rest of the massage, I was just in this like semi-awake, semi-sleep, just thinking of the cycle of life and the circle of life, and I thought about Lion King and just all these like, you know, just nature and how nature just is. Like the Tao talks about that, nature just is. It is and it isn't. It does and it doesn't. It's like there's the duality of the wording and language. And it was just talking about how nature just is. It just is. It just happens. It is. And it kind of relates to life. Like if we could live life and just trust that our process of life is happening, it's unfolding for us. And I just, yeah, I heard the cow obviously passed and it was like, oh, I was like, oh, really sad. And then I just went into that deep thought, you know, the deep thought of us talking today and you know, life and death. You just get into those deep rabbit holes.
Mm,
When I was obviously being massaged, I was like really relaxed and
yeah.
but yeah, like you're teaching me so much around language because I feel like that's that remembering of language is really, really, really important. And I
The
love when you sent
spell
me that
card.
video about the I am. Like I used to be huge on what I'd say after I am. And I
Mhm.
just forgot.
Yeah.
And that's that remembrance of like, hey, what you say after I am is so important. I am
Mhm.
so beautiful.
Mhm.
Like it's that, and you sent me the video. It was like funny. You must have seen it, and it was like it really is like what you say, how you speak to yourself is so important.
And I mean, because it creates everything that you witness around you. And so you can choose your lens of perception. And through your internal and external language, you are completely altering the way that you are experiencing yourself in the world and every single person around you. So it is, you can either choose to see it through the lens of this or this. The the variables don't change, but your perception of the variables
Mm,
changes, right? And so when we really start to understand that, it doesn't even make any logical sense why we would be feeding ourselves the worst case scenarios, the negative things about ourselves, the negative views on other people. Like, it doesn't make any sense, because all that you are doing is then creating a reality that is going to feed into those stories and those beliefs, you know?
Mhm.
This conversation around death as well, there's kind of, I feel like there's two kind of avenues to it as well for this. Is there's death of others and then death of self, right?
Yeah.
And it's one thing, I've been to quite a few funerals recently. I went to two quite profound ones. One was somebody I went to university with years ago, and she has been battling cancer for 30 years
Wow.
and left behind a teenage daughter who has never had her father in her life. And so that funeral in itself, and of course I've seen her through all of these stages of fighting for her fucking life, you know, it gives me shivers. Just her fight to be in life
Yeah.
was just so beautiful. And so I bumped into her a couple of weeks before she transitioned out of this experience, out of this physical experience. And do you know what she was doing? So her daughter's 17. She was putting together a box for her daughter, for her to open on her 18th birthday and for her to open on her 21st birthday, because she knew she was not going to be here.
Mm.
And to be standing with this woman as a mother in this conversation with her, and she's like, oh, I'm just putting all these bits and pieces in for her, and she'll think this is really funny and this is really cute. I'm going to put some photos in here. To witness this fucking human in front of me, very honestly speaking about the understanding of how she was not going to be here in the physical, to see her daughter get married, you know, that's the emotional charge is still really high around it. You know, was it really sat with me, you know, and I was just so inspired, and I just thought,
Yeah.
how many of us are fucking wasting our time and our lives with shit that doesn't even fucking matter? And out there's a woman who is preparing to be buried and it knows she's going to miss out on those initiations with her own daughter, right? And then a few weeks later, I went to the funeral of a 13-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And again, I remember sitting there and just thinking, it was actually so beautiful the way that this ceremony of life and celebration of life was held. It was just absolutely fucking a profound experience. And again, the gift that we can find in death is the realization that so many of our thoughts and our actions and behaviors and the things that we're concerned about, they don't even fucking matter.
No, I know.
They don't even matter in the scheme of existence. You know, when we can get some clarity on what things truly, truly are worthy of putting my time and my energy and my care into. You know, it's things like, do you know what fucking doesn't matter? Is like replaying a conversation you had with someone 10 years ago, replaying breakups in your head, thinking about that shit you did wrong, you know, all the potential failures that you could have in the future, like all of these things that take up space. What matters? Like love matters, connection matters, beauty matters, like presence matters, honesty matters. Like those are the things that matter. And so can we take death as an opportunity for us to see through this lens of what is actually here for us to be experienced, and what is just creating mess within the space of our reality, you know? So others and then us. I know it's something I used to, it's so interesting in your pregnancy journey right now. When I first became pregnant is when mortality became a very prominent feature in my thoughts, feelings. You know, the moment that I became a mother, and while I was pregnant with my first, I just had this like sensation hit me of, fuck. It's not me now. It's not just me. And so if I'm not here and I'm not alive, then what about this person, you know, who they're dependent on me to keep them alive. And I remember like even when I was pregnant and my ex-husband would be driving, and even he'd like take a swerve around a corner and I'd like jolt,
Yeah.
and I never had experienced that before. All of a sudden, this feeling around my own living and my own death became really prominent. And then I kind of journeyed through it. And then going through all these stages of death with my own children, of, their leaving of childhood innocence, and all the things that have come with it. I feel like I've journeyed through that in some ways through motherhood. But I feel as if we can, again, go into looking at the ending of this physical experience with curiosity again, without this attachment from so many external places of what it's supposed to look like and feel like, and just live every single present moment, because as soon as we start fearing our death and mortality, we're not here.
No.
We're not here. So we're already dead.
Mm.
If you're not in the present moment experience right now, you're not alive. And so how can you live a life and get to the end of this lifetime and be like, I lived? Is to be here now. Just be here now. It's one of the things I come back to often when I think, I often think of myself on my deathbed. I've had lots of visions of myself on my
Yeah.
deathbed. And it always has come back to this, I just want to, and have this passion and desire to fill this human experience up with so many beautiful moments of aliveness. And if I can just fill it up with so many beautiful moments of aliveness, I'm going to end this and be like, I fucking lived and I fucking did not hold back. I put all of myself into what this could possibly be, and I think if we can just be more in that, it changed our connotation with death. It changes it. It's not this fear. It's like this, oh,
Yeah.
you know? Mm,
I love
mm,
that. I've not had any like thoughts of like being pregnant, like I haven't had those thoughts that you had, but I have had the thoughts of it's not just me now. Like obviously I'm a stepmother, so I've got that role as well, but it's like it's not going to just be me anymore. Like it's going to be like, hey, I've got
mm,
something responsible and like you said, dependent on me as the caregiver, as a mother, as a helper, a supporter. And I think I think I told you this a few weeks ago, I'm really excited to share what I've learned already and
mm.
give my wisdom and my parenting that like I've learned just to this beautiful soul that I'm creating right now. And I think even in the moment of being pregnant, like my baby's listening to me right now.
I think she's a girl.
I do, and I just
I,
I was
I
doing it.
think she's a girl. Like it just came through super, super
Yeah,
strong.
there's a
Okay.
meditation I was doing in the bath, and it said it was kind of, I was drifting now, but it said about like your baby, all it hears throughout its whole 9 months is your heartbeat. And I just was like, oh, in the bath. And I just
Mhm.
thought to myself, like that heartbeat of like, I'm a big, one of the most powerful meditations I ever did was my deathbed, was like when I was on my deathbed, because I did past life regression stuff. And I was kind of like, whoa, that was really powerful. And I, I remember looking at myself on my deathbed and I was just like, oh my fucking God, you're amazing. Like I just was so I was like, look what you've done and created and what you just the person you are. Like your heart's just like I just felt like my heart could just explode with just like the love and the kindness and the service and just everything I'd done in life. Like same as you, Shao. Like I just want to fill this. When I have those moments where I'm sad and moments where I was really, down, like my best friend said to me, feel it all. You're feeling
Yeah.
everything that life has to offer. Like,
Yeah.
there's no lessons to be learned. It's an experience to be learned. And I was like, you're
Mm.
right. It's like all my friends and my support group right around me right now. I feel like I'm in this beautiful, lovely, including you, Shao, like this beautiful, lovely
Mm.
bubble of just like people are holding me. And it's like I'm the same as you. I hold other people all the time. And my best friend said to me, let us hold you. Like let us
Yeah.
just hold you for a moment. And I was like, and it felt so uncomfortable because I was like, I'm the one that holds other people though. So they're like, no, let's hold you now because you're holding a baby. Let's hold you. And she just said, you're experiencing everything. It's okay. You don't have to have everything solved and figured out.
Mm.
And I was like, she's so right because she just knows me. And I was like, I just
Mm.
needed to hear that. And I thought like you just went to two funerals and like it's happening all around us. There's babies being born every second. There's people dying every second. It's like
Mm.
when you put things into reality and you realize like, hey, I'm just having this experience, and it's
can I just be in it?
And I'm here for it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here for all of
I
it.
love I love what you were just saying about baby hearing your heart. It's actually something I often say to my children. As I say to them, I'm like, do you know what is so special about us? I say what I said. You, obviously the three of them, but I'll say, you are one of the only people, you and your siblings, that have heard my heart from the inside.
Yeah.
And I just like, I always love that vision of the
Yeah.
fact that they have heard your heart beating from the inside as their heart is beating inside.
Yeah. And then like the heart's been
And
inside you. It's like,
obviously,
yeah.
yeah. And, and co-parenting, and obviously my children not living with me every day. I always say to them, like, my heart is always with you because you heard my heart from the inside. Nothing can ever change that connection, that experience that we've had, so if we're not together, I'm always with you. I'm always thinking of you. And we've brought in this concept recently, of because they ask me about death, and they'll say things, especially going through Rubicon, the after the first 7 years and going into the Rubicon about 9 years old, death becomes a very prevalent thing for them. And then again in teenage years, and they'll say like, but mum, will you love me forever? I'm like, oh, every single moment,
Oh, I love it.
and what about when you die, mum? And I say to them, oh, and I will just continue loving you. They'll say, but you won't be here. I'm like, yeah, I will.
Just
And
different
these
form.
conversations with them, of like my soul and my spirit, my essence, my love, because my love is not my body,
Yeah.
will be with you forever and ever and ever. And I think, even helping our young people around these conversations, because they go through these, whoa, fuck, did you
I
just
just
see
saw that
that?
then. It was like blue.
Yeah, it was a trip.
Wow. Matrix
Watching
bitch.
Matrix. But yeah, being able to and instead of, because when people will hold such a high frequency and an aversion to death, the
Yeah.
potential in that conversation could maybe be like, it's fine, don't worry about it, like that's so far away, don't even worry. Like, they're worrying about it, they're
Yeah.
thinking about it, speak into it, but speak into it like my love is completely unconditional. Love knows no bounds of time and space,
Yeah.
and so I'll always be with you. And so, supporting those conversations around death as well is it's vital, so that then we're not raising more young people with that fear of mortality.
Yeah. It definitely
Yeah.
changed me when I watched my nan pass. And
Yeah.
then when she left, I just looked at her and said, that's not Nan. Like I knew
Yeah.
the soul is what made her my Nan. And I just remember that was one of a big spiritual experience. I was 26 when she passed. It was like she was lying there, her life had gone. And I was like, she was cold. And I remember just thinking, like, that's not Nan. Like that's not what makes her who she is. That's just the vessel that's beautifully carried her in this life. And it was just beautiful experience, even though it was really difficult losing someone so close, through my whole life. But I love how you inspire me as a mother, because some of the stuff you talk to your kids about, like that's how I want to talk to my kids. Like, you've heard my heart, like that's what I'm gonna, because that's what she said in the meditation. Your baby's hearing your whole heartbeat through the whole of your pregnancy. That's why they love that
Totally.
be on your chest, because they can hear your heartbeat. And I think that's soothing for all of us, isn't it? Like the heartbeat's soothing for all of us. And I think it's, yeah, I'm honoring this journey as becoming mummy.
Yeah. Mommy, papa.
But yeah, just
um
beautiful conversation as always. And I
yeah,
think, yeah,
yeah.
it's needed.
This has been a really beautiful journey, and I think so setting some intentions going out from here is, can we be more open to the conversations around all of the initiations we've spoken to around the whole way? So what can you do to play a part in societal change? All right. Is to, first of all, maybe explore some of these things for you, the initiations of what they have been in your life. Take yourself into some spaces or get some support from practitioners if there have been traumatic events along the way, so you can dilute some of that charge and that shame that might be sitting there with any of those things or uncomfortability, and then be part of the change in society. Be the one that openly talks about, if someone's asking you how you are, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm good, but like my bleed was really heavy yesterday, or talking about sexual experiences, talking about menopause, talking about all these things. I know it's one thing that many people have come to me with, is it's so great, I can talk to you about death and talk to you about these things, and because we create that within ourselves, and it's something we can all participate in. You know, it's just being open to having these conversations as a collective so that they can become empowering again instead of disempowering, you know, and they can become avenues for growth without an attachment to what they need to be. In the conversation of menopause, I've spoken to many women who have said very different things about what their journey has been like for them. And so it's honoring whatever that is for everyone, but let's get rid of the fucking discomfort around these conversations.
I know.
It's part of the human experience. And every time we avoid honoring parts of the human experience, we are severing a part of ourselves.
Yeah,
You know,
because
we are
it's the
severing and orphaning
uncomfortableness.
parts of
Yeah.
us.
Mm.
Yeah.
If something's
Um,
uncomfortable, it's become this like, oh, this is uncomfortable. Let's just not talk about it. No, actually, that's where you should talk
yeah,
about it. Because it's just like you
absolutely.
said, the honoring every single process we go through. Even for men, they go through processes too. It's just
Yeah,
like
I was
we
just
need to
thinking
come
about
together
that.
and hold that
Yeah.
space for each other.
Mm, yeah. That feels really beautiful and that feels really complete in terms of this conversation. Thanks for coming on this 3-part journey with us
Yes.
with a little pregnancy surprise in the middle. Was that it was a little pregnancy sandwich?
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, I'm glad we did 3 parts. It was really good.
Yeah.
Mm.
Uh, did we have questions from last week's?
We did. I don't think we did a joke, but I was gonna answer the last day on Earth, how I would
Should we
spend
do
it.
that next episode?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that next episode and
I
we'll
feel
do a
like a
joke next
joke and a
episode.
question it doesn't fit into this because it's been quite a bit on it.
Nah, this feels
Yeah.
complete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yum. Thanks,
Thank you
friends.
guys. Love you all.
Oh, love you.